We got a video here.
Oh, we got a video here.
It's a big one. So about a week ago, Assassin's Creed Shadows was released. There's been a lot of discourse and conversation about this game, going up to as high as the President of the United States has commented on it. It's muted. Okay, let's start that again. Did you really? Yeah, Elon tweeted about it yesterday.
Assassin's Creed Shadows might go down as the weirdest launch in video game history.
Yeah.
This game has been wrapped in controversy, leaks, delays, identity politics, all kinds of issues. And I've never seen a company have so much writing on the line while simultaneously stumbling all over themselves at every given turn. Let's be honest here. Let's be clear about this. Assassin's Creed Shadows decides the fate of Ubisoft.
It does.
Future is hanging by a thread, and that thread is Assassin's Creed Shadows. And after playing the game, I'm going to be honest with you guys, that thread isn't very strong. I'll break down my experience in detail, but let's just say that despite what games media is saying, why does this keep happening?
Because people find a fucking video game, and there's some sort of a culture war about the fucking game, and then nobody wants to think about whether the game is good. It's not about, well, how much discourse is about Yasuke being black? I played the game a lot. I don't give a fuck about that. Like, yeah, it seems like they obviously did it for, like, DEI, current year reasoning. Sure, yeah, it's fucking weird or whatever, but honestly, I don't really care. It's not really a big deal to me. But every castle has the same elites that you kill? And they do the same things? And the box is in the same place every time? What the fuck?
Is what I'd like to refer to as aggressively mid.
Yes.
It's a Trojan horse of a game. It's very pretty. And when you peel back its exterior, there's really just nothing going on inside of it. Nothing at all. And I think a lot of people really expected that to happen. Yeah. They saw that coming. But to be honest with you, contrary to popular belief, I wanted Assassin's Creed to be good. I want Ubisoft to be good. I want this company and this game to succeed because I've enjoyed it in the past. But I just haven't been able to get into it or play it because of what they've done with it over the years. And Ubisoft has mismanaged themselves into a corner at this point. And I don't think that they can escape. They've compromised too much. They've changed too many things. Their games have lost any real sense of identity.
There's no identity and no guiding principle that the games have that make them unique. That's the problem. There's nothing that's unique or special about these games at all. They're just like, okay, well, there it is. You're going to do this thing. There's this, like below average story. And after that, you have to like do all these objectives on the map and then do these things. Used to be so good. Well, remember what I said before about how like one of the reasons why I stopped playing WoW is because I felt like every expansion and patch after Legion, like BFA, Shadowlands, Dragonflight, I just felt like I was playing Legion again and again and again. And that's the way that I feel like with a lot of these modern games. I've already kind of played this game before it even begins.
A new game release isn't going to fix that. Mm-hmm. Games journalists are already running defense for it. Their stockholders are protesting at their door. There's a legal task force that they're building to fight against content creators and the players. Japanese politicians are outraged. And even with the glowing media praise that the game got, their share prices are still falling.
It's crazy how, like, when a game comes out, if culture warriors don't, like, well, on both sides, right? It's like the game comes out, and if chuds don't like the game, games media contorts themselves around to make themselves like it, and they downplay the negative aspects to it. So basically, what I mean by that is that they actively misrepresent the product in order to make it more in line with their worldview. It's so fucking annoying to me. Like, you're not even talking about the game. You're not even thinking about the game. It's about some, like, abstract idea that this game, like, what about the fucking game?
Bubbling empire doesn't need a new flag.
What's a chud? A chud is just a term that people use for a low intelligence or low information, right-wing, anti-woke person, basically. I think that's the best way I could explain it. A neckbeard. Yes, basically a neckbeard.
It needs a miracle, and Ubisoft's not getting one. But before all that, a word from today's sponsor, EVE Online. Space is brutal, but in EVE Online, it's yours to conquer. For over 20 years, EVE Online has been the ultimate space MMO, where hundreds of thousands of players carve out their own empires in an ever-evolving galaxy. There's only one server, meaning that every battle, every deal, and every betrayal is part of the same living history. And the best part? It's completely free to play. How you shape that history is entirely up to you. You can become an explorer, uncovering the lost secrets of deep space, an industrialist, building warships and running the economy, an enforcer taking on high-risk missions for powerful factions, a soldier of fortune diving into massive PvP battles and interstellar warfare. With over 250 ships to master, there is a role for every kind of player. But if you're just starting out, the smartest move is to join a corporation. They'll teach you the ropes, give you allies, and help you thrive in the cutthroat universe of EVE. And right now, I'm
actually really surprised EVE is sponsoring people.
You can get a kickstart to your own space adventure with 1 million skill points, completely free. That's a huge boost to get you started. So don't wait. Use the link in the description or in the pinned comment and download EVE Online today and carve your name into the stars. Thank you to EVE Online for sponsoring today's video.
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't just another big release. It's Ubisoft's last chance at proving that they can still compete. Not because it's one of the biggest franchises in gaming, but because Ubisoft spent the last few years free-falling off of a financial cliff. Prince of Persia reviewed well, but it flopped financially. X-Defiant was a live service disaster that never made it out of beta before it got shut.
Remember whenever they made the promise that they're not going to shut down the servers, and then 2 weeks later, the guy that said that got fired, and then they shut down the servers?
Down, Skull of Bones torched millions and then sunk in the harbor. Star Wars Outlaws never found an audience. Ubisoft has been bleeding money, alienating their audience, and doubling down on leadership that sees itself as some type of brave resistance against toxic gamers, while their own investors are begging them to stop setting piles of cash on fire. And now everything is riding on Assassin's Creed Shadows.
This is also another problem, is that I think a lot of, and this is an issue with, I think, games in general, is that a lot of people that make games think that it's more important for them to put forward a message than for them to actually make a game that's worth playing, that people want to see. And I think the process of that has led to a lot of games, things like Concord, or things like, like body type A and B instead of like male and female. Like, no player is really asking for that. These are things that are being added into the game. Like, I don't think that anybody, there's a lot of players don't really care about it, but there's almost nobody that wants it, right? And so the issue is that changes are being made, and these games are being compromised to be less appealing and less relevant and, just less relatable to an average audience by people that it's like they don't even care about selling the product. It's like, oh, we're selling video games. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought we were trying to push this message. That's the issue. It's unnecessary. Yeah, it's unnecessary and weird. Like, when I see a game that has that, I think it's weird.
Now, I don't want you guys to get it twisted, because over time, I do think that Assassin's Creed Shadows will sell. Because Assassin's Creed Mirage, a scaled-back AA version with middling reviews, still moved 5 million copies. Shadows is a mainline, full-budget release with marketing hype and the long-requested Japanese setting. It's going to push units.
Yeah.
How many? Well, we're going to have to wait and see, but I am doubtful that it's going to be able to overcome its own budget, let alone save the company. I'll be honest with you guys, after playing it, I think that games journalists are afraid to review this one honestly. Not because Ubisoft paid them off, but because they don't want to be responsible for pushing yet another struggling publisher further into the abyss.
I don't think that's the reason why. I think they don't want to, because they have decided that on the battle lines of these social issues, that Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows is it's on their side, so they have to defend it regardless. And so because I remember looking at a lot of the reviews for the game, and a lot of the reviews for the game, I don't think tackled any of the actual problems with the game itself. They were mainly just kind of them talking about the story in an abstract. It's they're not talking about the gameplay. They're not talking about how you progress through the story. It's all just bullshit. And exactly on point. Yeah, exactly. So they're not doing it because it's a small publisher. If it was a small publisher they disagreed with, they'd be celebrating if it got shut down. So the problem is really that the entire focus that they have is built around trying to reinforce a worldview rather than inform the customer.
Too close. They see developers as allies, and with all of the controversy and negative commentary around Assassin's Creed Shadows and heck, a lot of other games, they want a win. I've seen the rhetoric already talking about how people are upset for nothing, complaining for no reason, outraged without purpose, all because game journalists positively reviewed it. Man, it's almost like we've seen this happen before.
That was with Veilguard. That was so stupid.
The game sits at an 81 on Metacritic, and that score isn't being dragged down by bad reviews. It's being dragged up by overly generous ones. VG247 gave it a perfect score, 100 out of 100. While it
100 out of 100, really? What? What are you talking about? 100 out of 100.
Admitting in the first sentence of their review that the game has issues. I'm sorry, but if a game has issues, it's not a perfect game. Moreover, how the hell did you guys rate Ghost of Tsushima a 6?
It's far too easy. The lack of consequence for failure makes it look like you're just going through the motions. That's exactly...
Yet its knockoff version in Shadows a 100. We're hearing the same lazy talking points from Dragon Age the Veilguard when it was reviewed. A return to form for Ubisoft. A return to form for Assassin's Creed. A return to what?
This is why people are like, oh, all journalism and gaming is being consolidated to the same few companies. It's like, bro, you could have one person doing journalism and gaming, and it wouldn't be any different than it is now. They all have the same opinions. They all agree with each other. There's never any actual discourse about things that gamers care about. All they do is say the same thing over and over, and there's never anybody who challenges the narrative. Ever.
Exactly. If this is a true return to form, we'd be talking about the original trilogy, methodical combat, gripping storytelling, incredible voice acting. Instead, I'm seeing reviewers gushing about how the game looks, romance options, petting cats, and how groundbreaking it is that you...
Bro, if you are a reviewer and you care about petting cats, go work to just go back to Starbucks. Please, do me a favor and go back to Starbucks. Gamers don't care about this. It's a nice little cute addition, but if I hear this anywhere, I immediately am like, oh my God, I'm reading a millennial review. Get me out of here.
You can go prone in a video game. I keep saying this, but the industry does not seem to realize how much damage is done when you do not review these games and critique them honestly. For whatever reason, studios and publishers still take professional reviewers and journalists more seriously than actual players. EA outright said it with Dragon Age the Veilguard when it flopped, and Ubisoft, well, they were caught off guard when Star Wars Outlaws failed to sell despite getting a solid Metacritic score. The role of...
Well, they didn't get a solid Metacritic score. They got a solid Metacritic score from other professional reviewers. If you actually look at how players reacted to the game, they thought it was garbage, but they focused on that because that made them feel better. It's crazy.
Critic isn't to keep these studios in business or to help them sell games. It's to share the player's perspective, hold the industry accountable, and make better games easier to make. I've played Assassin's Creed Shadows, and this is my first Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag, and I'm around 20 hours in, and I can say without hesitation that Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of the most immersive and visually stunning worlds Ubisoft has ever created. Potentially one of
I really agree with that. I think the world for this game is really good. Whoever did the world design and the level design for it did a really great job.
Best in gaming. The lighting, the seasonal shifts, the wildlife, the sound design, everything looks and sounds incredible. It's an environment that begs you to explore every inch of it. And the moment that you do, you realize that there's nothing actually worth exploring. The reward for straying off the beaten path is an epic rarity wall scroll that you can hang in your base, or maybe a legendary rock that you can put in the corner. Hey, legendary...
Oh my God, I cannot agree with this anymore. This is insane. Yeah, it's a rock. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Sword that'll be outclassed by a common sword 2 levels later.
Exactly.
Viewpoints unveiling breathtaking vistas and areas of interest, only for those areas to contain nothing but the same copy-pasted objectives. 3 missing scrolls, 3 bandits holding a...
Yes, this is the game. This is a review. This is the actual content of the fucking video game. That's right. Finally, let's look at what is it like playing the game.
Hostage, another enemy fort, another repetitive infiltration mission, identical commanders for you to assassinate. The world doesn't have depth. It has chores. Ubisoft have front-loaded this entire experience. It's vain, superficial, and boring as hell to play. It's the same tried-and-true Ubisoft formula that got them where they are today, spiraling on the edge of bankruptcy, earning XP and leveling up, gaining skills. These things should make you feel stronger, but well, Assassin's Creed Shadows, they lock that behind an additional barrier. You can't unlock the next tier of abilities until you go out grinding knowledge points. Well, how do you
want to know how to grind knowledge points? You have to go around and click a bunch of fucking scrolls. Do you want to know why you have to do that? Me too. I want to know why. It's a pointless busy work activity that adds nothing to the game. All it is a checklist gameplay padding mechanism that does nothing other than waste your time. And it's actually insane for me to go and play like Armored Core 6 or Metaphor ReFantasio or I'm trying to think of another game that doesn't waste your time professionally. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Like all of these games, you've already got our fucking money. You already have the money. Well, I guess no, you don't, because you have a microtransaction shop. Never mind. No. All this makes sense now. So they want these artificial mechanisms to keep you in the game longer because on every fucking menu screen, look what's in the corner. The fucking store.
Those, well, by praying at shrines, by finding lost scrolls, by running yellow paint obstacle courses, by completing the same...
And by the way, all of these things can be immediately revealed if you buy a literal map hack from the store. You used to be able to type in Shelby in Age of Empires 2 to get a Shelby Cobra in the game that would kill everything. Now, what you do is you just give them $6.
Checklist repetitive exploration activities over and over and over. You guys get the point.
Yeah.
And this really wouldn't be that much of a problem if you only had to do it a few times, but unlocking even the first tier of skills requires hours of grinding. By the time...
Well, and it gets worse, too, because it starts at 10. You need 10 knowledge points, but then whenever you reach level 4, you need 15.
I reached 20 hours of playtime.
That's why.
I'm no longer immersed in the game. I'm actively trying to break it. Ubisoft made a really cool move here, trying to make the game better by removing persistent markers to give you a better sense of immersion, no UI clutter, but it's all been undone by the repetitive checklist.
That's actually a really good point that he brings up. I think that the UI in this game is actually very clean and well designed. You know, like I don't want to just shit on the game. I think that like this UI, this is a very clean and well designed and just subtle UI.
I'm running around holding left trigger, scanning for glowing dots so I can finish these objectives as quickly as I possibly can because I don't want to do them anymore.
Yeah.
The first castle infiltration mission was exciting.
Fun.
You had to eliminate an elite samurai, steal a key, and unlock a major reward. But by the third time, I wasn't playing the game anymore. I was trying to play the system. I ran around...
This is a review. This is a review of a game. He is completely fucking right. He is absolutely fucking right. So the usual issue, end game is boring? No, it's not end game. It's the game after you do it the first time. Every other subsequent time is the same thing. Yes, this is an actual review of the game.
Recklessly holding focus mode while enemies chase me so I could tag enemies, sprinting between bushes, waited until I found the elite samurai I needed to kill, then baited them into a corner, killed them one by one, and looted the reward. Which should have been a rare, intense assassination mission had already just become another formulaic Ubisoft side activity.
Yeah.
And all of this is made worse by the combat, which just isn't interesting. It's too bare bones. It's too simple. It's too repetitive. It's like gacha game. Oh my god, it actually is gacha game combat.
No, it's not. It's worse. She's killing it pretty fast. I don't know if she's gonna go through all the animations. It's not a gacha game. This is better. It's not even remotely close. By the way, this is actually not a great visual because like there's a lot of she's like stun locking the boss. Hopefully it goes into the transition. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, okay, this is one of the cool ones. If you actually, like, I probably pulled up the worst video I could possibly show you. Well, actually, okay, now we're getting to see some of the animations. Okay, here we go. This is a free gacha game. Worst video, I'm impressed? No, it looks way better. Like, there are other videos that are way better. This is the first one I could find. So I just want to show you guys real quick. You compare that with this.
No actual combos, no depth to the combat, no meaningful enemy variety. Unlocking a new ability takes 50 hours of grinding filler, so instead, you're just running around spamming light and heavy attacks for hours. And the story's no...
It's pathetic. Like, it really is. It's fucking pathetic. Like, how does this happen?
Better. Yasuke and Naoe, the two main protagonists, feel completely inauthentic. Naoe is introduced as an Iga clan assassin from the 16th century, yet she's constantly disregarding her father's wishes and contradicting him. One of the clan's leaders, as if she's some sort of rebellious teenager in a CW drama. This is not how Japanese culture worked in the 1500s, and it barely even works that way today. Her character writing is so inconsistent. One moment she's a kind-hearted, cheerful young woman, the next she's a ruthless killer, next she's painting with an orphan, and then she's coldly executing someone without hesitation. The writing just feels so disjointed, like multiple drafts of her character were just stitched together without any editing. At one point, you go to meet a blacksmith, and he tells Naoe that he lost his parents. Her response is, "I'm sorry to hear that. Anyway, want to be our blacksmith? Maybe that'll help you get over it." What? This is the same character that just watched the eradication of her entire clan and the death of her father, and she doesn't want to take the time to reflect on that at all or show any compassion? It just doesn't make any sense. Another really good example is her...
I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah.
Dynamic with Yasuke, because he's responsible...
This is like an email response.
...for killing her clan with Nobunaga. Do they explore how difficult it would be for these two to trust one another or the complexities of that dynamic? No, it's practically, you killed my people. Yeah, that was my bad. True, let's be best friends.
Exactly.
At this point, I'm questioning whether or not I'll even make it to doing any of Yasuke's story.
To be fair, I will disagree with this small element, that I think that the way that Naoe and Yasuke teamed up and were allied, I actually think that it was one of the high points in the game, and I would even argue that I think it was well done. I do. I do think that part of the game was well done. To be fair, yeah, no, that's just, and again, that's my opinion. I agree, I liked it, yeah.
Continue to play the game as Naoe because, to be honest, I just don't have any interest in playing him. He doesn't fit the mold of an Assassin's Creed character. He doesn't even really fit in the world. You can't even do most of the content in the game with his character in the first place.
Yeah,
and beyond that, his introduction is the most forced and awkward, we need this character in the game moment I've ever seen. Nobunaga looks at him and says, I see a warrior in you that has the power to shape history or you'll die. And then it fast forwards to him being Nobunaga's lead samurai, burning a village to the ground and killing its people. And Yasuke's like, this isn't like any war I've ever seen. So much slaughter. And Nobunaga's like, you're such a righteous man. Anyway, go murder those people. And Yasuke's like,
it's so ridiculous.
Bet. The game's story reads like the Harry Potter My Immortal fanfic, and honestly, I think that was better writing. At this point, Assassin's Creed isn't even a franchise, it's just a storefront with a game attached. No.
That's the way so many games are nowadays. And the thing is that, like, at least the gacha games have hot characters and good combat. So, like, yeah, you want to do that? That's fine. But, like, you've got to have something good to pay money for.
Literally, that's exactly what this is, at least on PC. They implemented the Animus launcher, which essentially is a built-in third-party launcher and a direct microtransaction funnel. Players can buy weapons and armor with real money, not cosmetics, but legendary equipment with actual stats and unique passives.
So you just buy... So you spend real money and then you get gear in the single-player game and the gear makes your character do more damage? That's great. Wow. And how much was this game again? So you had to buy the game too, right?
On reviewing the store, I realized just how much of Ubisoft's game design is dictated by its monetization.
Yeah.
The game's economy is deliberately restrictive to encourage spending. They slow you down in hopes that you spend more. The base building...
Yeah, that's right. The base building is a great example. Like, if you want to go out, and how many of you guys that actually played the game, so there's like 3 people here, how many of you guys that played the game, like, you got walled by the base building, and of course you didn't because you have self-respect, but you considered buying the extra amount of, like, items because it just takes extra time, and you didn't want to farm. And it was, like, annoying to you because you didn't have enough resources in order to, like, build everything in your hideout. Because, like, for me, like, okay, so nobody... All right, so wait a minute. So nobody here played the game, but everybody's disagreeing with me about the story element that I liked. I find that very interesting. Wow, I wonder... Wow, why is that? I wonder. The game's resource system is nerfed so they get you to spend money on the store. If it was easier to do, it'd be like Monster Hunter Wilds. You want to farm for the Arkfeld set? Kill Arkfeld a few times. Wow, now you have the set. You know why? It's because they already have your fucking money.
System as an example. Players need materials to upgrade their base, but resources are intentionally scarce unless you go out and grind endlessly or purchase supply packs from the in-game store. You can find massive bundles out in the...
And it's opaque how to actually farm these resources, by the way, too. Like... If you played the game a lot, like I played the game a lot, I know where to find them. But it's not as readily obvious.
World to be able to smuggle things out of enemy bases, but if you do that, well, then you're not going to be able to use those scouts to reveal map locations.
Exactly.
So either add hours of bloat to your playthrough, ignore the mechanic entirely, or spend money to utilize it. The entire...
Was it Marco Polo that was a cheat that used to unlock there was a map hack back in the day for RTS games? They basically took cheat codes in video games and they turned them into a store.
Design is built around inconvenience just to sell you a solution. And I think that's their Achilles heel. That's the root to all of their evils. Why wasn't this talked about in a single review? Ubisoft games are not designed as games. They're designed as marketing attractions. That's the reason why...
Isn't it crazy that he's right about this? That, like, all of these reviews never discuss these topics. They never discuss gameplay. They don't discuss monetization. They don't discuss repetition. They discuss these bullshit platitudes, return to form, culture war, like identity politics. Like, nobody gives a shit about this. Like, does the game feel good to play? Not really. It's okay, but not really. Like, what is this?
All of the effort goes into how it looks on the outside rather than how it plays on the inside. This is a huge problem across the industry.
Yes.
They've lost sight of the fact that we don't just need to look at this game. We need to play it too. That's why
Imagine
the
playing
gameplay
the
feels
video
so
game.
repetitive. All of the different activities. It's why the combat is so brain dead.
Well, hey, this is one of the things that, like, hey, you know, I used to criticize the game, the game reviewers because they, you know, said, "Oh, Black Myth Wukong doesn't have any women in it." Yeah, because you didn't play the game, you didn't get past chapter 1, and you would know that it does. But this is different. I think that they maybe game reviewers like games like Ubisoft games because once you play the game for 2 hours, you've already experienced all of the content the game has to offer. And everything after that is going to be the same thing.
Story isn't gripping and the characters are so shallow because they just want to get you in the door in hopes that you spend more. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. That's what you're in business to do. That's what businesses do. But you have to earn that money. And Ubisoft has lost sight of that. So many other companies have as well.
Yep.
They had everything at their disposal to make an incredible game. You have the technology, the experience, the money, the franchise, and yet Assassin's Creed Shadows is just another bloated, shallow, microtransaction-riddled Ubisoft mess. It's so disappointing.
Yeah, I gave the game a 6, but for what it should have been, it's lower than a 6. This game should have been a 9. There is no reason this game isn't a 9.
Disappointing. You know, I watched Mr. Matty Plays in his review, and he said,
2 hour
I
credits.
represent the fan base that wants to get back into the franchise. If the media and Ubisoft would just stop being so defensive for just a few minutes, they would realize that the vast majority of the frustration that is coming from players is for that reason specifically. Players are watching as a franchise that they've loved drifts further and further away from them. They just can't get into it anymore. And they know what it's
because it's not good and it doesn't respect their time. Like, this is another big component is that, like, if you're a dad, how many of you guys, maybe you're not a dad yet, or maybe you are, but like, let's say you just have other responsibilities and you have limited amount of time to play video games. When you open up a page and it says there are 6 levels and each level requires you to do 10 activities and each activity takes you 20 minutes, you go and you're like, oh, fuck, right? Because you just don't have time for that anymore as an adult. So one of the big reasons why you have adults and people falling off on these franchises is because the franchises are designed for them as kids. And so you need to have a more narrow and a more focused experience, a more precise experience. And you don't have these precise experiences. You have bloat, repetition, chores, and mandatory fun. And what happens is that a lot of those older players that grew up playing Assassin's Creed, maybe if Shadows was their first game, they'd probably play it if they were still 15, and they do everything, and it would be fine. But now they're 30, and they don't have the time to go and farm out and collect every scroll out of every temple in order to just unlock the ability to play their character. Like, how does this really make the, like, really ask yourself the question, how does this make the game better? How does this improve the experience of the player? And I think that a lot of developers really need to start asking themselves these questions whenever they implement mandatory fun. So often, these systems don't do anything. They don't add anything. They don't improve anything. I found it. Gentlemen, there it is. Right there. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Capable of. They know what it can do. The investors see it too. That's the reason why they're protesting right now. Because they know what this company is capable of. They know what its IP is capable of. And the last thing that they want to do is see these assholes in their management run away from the problem scot-free and get away with it and leave these guys holding the bag. All they want them to do is listen. Luckily for Ubisoft, Oh, they've built a task force to make sure that doesn't happen. Ubisoft shareholders have been in revolt for well over a year now because Ubisoft refuses to listen to them or communicate with them. The company has been in talks with Xbox, EA, and Tencent about potential acquisitions, going private, or selling off key IPs. These discussions aren't just casual speculation. They are legally obligated to disclose every move to their shareholders because failing to do so is considered insider trading. Yet every time I see this situation covered, the media always misses the bigger picture. They reduce it to investors just wanting more profits as if that's the only issue. But for once, the investors align with our interests. Because in this case...
no, wait a minute. The investors wanting more profits also mean that they want the game to sell. So when you make a video game and nobody's buying the fucking game, if I'm invested in a company and this company's selling potatoes and there's no potatoes being sold, I'm going to be like, man, we really need to sell more fucking potatoes. We've got to figure out a way to get people to buy these motherfucking potatoes.
They're getting ripped off harder than we are right now. Think about it for a second. Why would investors be angry about a potential...
Investing in Ubisoft 5 years ago is a great way to turn $100 into $20. If you had $100 and you wanted to turn it into $20 5 years ago, you should have invested into Ubisoft.
Sale or merger. Normally, shareholders love acquisitions because that means higher returns, but Ubisoft is at its lowest value in history, and management has done nothing to fix it. If the company sells now, its executives get to walk away.
How about this? I'm curious. So, if you had invested into Dogecoin, you would have made more money than if you had invested into Ubisoft.
Completely unscathed, while the investors, the people who have been putting money into Ubisoft, are left holding the bag. The backlash from their shareholders isn't because they want Ubisoft to stay independent at all costs. It's because they don't want them to sell out at rock bottom. They want the company to actually fix itself, increase the value of its shares, and go back to making award-winning games. Their frustrations come from watching Ubisoft destroy its own value, ignore every warning sign, ignore all of their customers, and try to escape the consequences. That's why their shareholders are threatening to sue, not because they're greedy, but because they've been played. All this because they refuse to listen. Assassin's Creed Shadows might go down as one of the most controversial games ever made. Not because it pushed boundaries, not because it did anything revolutionary, but because Ubisoft and the media refused to acknowledge common sense, caution, and criticism, whether it was from fans, investors, or from Japan itself.
This is the problem. It's that the media acts as a protection racket for these companies, and they function as a marketing department. So they either promote or don't promote a game based off of criteria that isn't reflected by the values of their audience.
How many times have you guys seen somebody dismiss the backlash around Assassin's Creed Shadows as fake outrage? Every time concerns are raised about historical inaccuracies or cultural respect, there was always somebody there that was ready to wave it off as meaningless.
It's all
now,
fake.
If you go and actually read the reviews, you'll see how often these same journalists are emphasizing how authentically Japanese the game is and how much it respects their culture. And yet, since mid-2024, all we've seen is damage control headlines. Assassin's Creed Shadows team issues apology to fans for marketing that has caused concern. Ubisoft apologizes to Japanese Historical Reenactment Group for using its flag in Assassin's Creed art without permission. Assassin's Creed Shadows figure removed from sale for insensitive design. And more recently, Japan's Prime Minister commenting about the game.
This is crazy. Think about how many... That's crazy. How do you do that? 0 days since last incident. It's insane.
Warning that it may promote vandalism of shrines. While both Japanese citizens and officials have voiced their concerns, defenders on Twitter and Western games journalists have done nothing but shield Ubisoft and try to reframe the criticism. Outlets like The Guardian have gone far out of their way to dehumanize critics, reducing actual Japanese concerns to nothing more than right-wing outrage. Instead of engaging with the real conversation, they dismiss it with articles like the disturbing online...
Give me a minute. There's also been furor over the game's black and female protagonists, with the usual right-wing YouTubers criticizing them as woke and historically inaccurate, despite the fact that female warriors fought throughout the feudal period, and that Yusuke, the game's black samurai, is a historical figure. You're not going to gaslight people into believing this. Yes, I'm sure that there were dozens of female warriors out there. This is so stupid. It's so stupid that pretending to be Japanese comment. Yeah, it's insane. I thought we already settled this debate. We did. And that's why people are mad. Is because it was settled.
The disturbing online misogyny of Gamergate has returned if it ever went away, or
no, it's not. And I'm gonna tell anybody that's like involved in this, we're gonna keep pushing for this stuff, and we're gonna get what we want. We are. It's gonna happen, and there's nothing you can do about it, because the fact is that there are way more of us than there are of you, and none of these game companies care about you. All they care about is money. And collectively, we have more money. That's the reality. Assassin's Creed Shadows did pretty well because it's not awful. It's really not an awful game. It's not great, but it's not awful, right? And also, here's another factor. Assassin's Creed Shadows was a brand withdrawal. Is the brand of Assassin's Creed better or worse after Assassin's Creed Shadows? I think it's worse. And so when you look at an IP, and if you look at a release of the IP in a vacuum, sometimes you can see that and be like, wow, well, that one did pretty well. Yeah, Shadowlands sold really well in World of Warcraft, but it also was such a massive brand withdrawal that it suppressed sales for the next expansion. And this is what a lot of people don't really understand in terms of like IPs. And you have to understand this as a content creator. You have to understand this as like, taking too many sponsored streams or, having too many boring streams where you don't give people what they want. Like, you have to make sure that you're giving people what they want to see. Now, it doesn't mean every day has to be an S-tier quality content day, but it has to mean that overall people are getting that type of experience that they're looking forward to by watching your stream. And I think that sometimes people might have a good stream that has a lot of numbers, but it's a boring stream. Well, you can guarantee that that's not always going to happen. And so just because one game does well, like you can look at PoE, right? Is that like you can see the ripple effect of a good league in PoE on the amount of people that play the next league. And so even whenever one league does well, that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is doing well or not. And so this is a lot of these complexities people don't understand because they're not thinking. Nobody's trying to think about this. They're trying to push an agenda. And the fact is that if people like this push an agenda, players are not going to buy it. And I can also say that all of this controversy, here's one thing that I wish more people would realize. All of this controversy with Assassin's Creed did not help the game. Undoubtedly, if they had just gone with John Shadows, your traditional male protagonist in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they had gone through the motions and made him an edgy, type of guy like the old Assassin's Creed games, I think this game would have sold a lot more copies. And they probably would have made more money. This controversy not killing the game is not evidence that the controversy was good.
It's been a challenge, Assassin's Creed Shadows and the quest to bring feudal Japan to life. Both articles push the same lazy, dishonest narrative that any criticism of Ubisoft's handling of Japanese culture, history, or the casting of Yasuke is nothing more than a manufactured outrage campaign. Never mind the fact that there are actual concerns coming from Japanese politicians, players, historians, and cultural groups. Never mind that the game actually uses real-life shrines, their names, and altars without...
To keep in mind, just a small community note here, is that in this event, Yasuke was not part of the conversation, and it was about killing Japanese people and destroying sacred places in Japan. So it actually didn't have anything to do with Yasuke. They didn't even talk about him. Yeah, he wasn't even mentioned.
permission, lets players raid the royal family's tomb and other burial sites, some of the most sacred places in Japanese culture, just to loot some epic rarity rewards and get achievements. Never mind that Ubisoft, in their infinite wisdom, gave Yasuke the ability to have an affair with Nobunaga's sister, a woman famous for her faithfulness whose bloodline still exists today. It's painfully obvious what these outlets
18 Japanese emperors are descendants of her. And now they're descendants of Yasuke.
Doing. They need a win against their perceived enemies. Players that just want Ubisoft to be honest about the game's accuracy and respect the culture that it's portraying. Instead of engaging with that, they label all criticism as reactionary and ignore the actual issue. Ubisoft essentially Google searched Japan and Asian, and that's the game that they made. And I think it's the...
Yeah, what's this? So, like, Asians, they like this boba tea stuff, right? Well, we'll put that in there, and then there was, like, you know, like those fucking, like, those pointy things that they have? Well, I see, like, a photo of, like, one of them, it's, like, broken. So why don't we have, like, the girl sitting on it, and then, like, the Yasuke like, standing in front of it? Why don't we sell that? Yeah, and what else do Asian... Oh, they like dragons. Yeah, why don't we... Oh, look at this. This is a red dragon. Well, put that... Yeah, put that in the game, too. What else do they like? Ah, jeez. You know, it's like the Tori... Yeah, it's crazy. Like sushi, like that. Exactly. No, they did it.
Media support and their obsession with framing everything as a culture war that pushed Ubisoft to taking the most extreme delusional measure to combat that imaginary enemy by assembling a task force and a therapy group to prepare their developers for potential online attacks. Think about that. Instead of just listening to valid criticism, Ubisoft prepared for war. In an article...
Which, again, and this is the problem, is that we live in such an age of dishonesty that nobody can admit that there are a lot of people that go on the internet and they act like fucking animals and they are harassing the developers, and I think they should be held accountable for that. That's not acceptable, and it shouldn't be acceptable. So the problem isn't that, it's that all of the people that are talking about this are being mischaracterized in a massive way.
Written by BFM Tech & Co., written by Melinda Devon Salas, translated from French to English, they recalled a recent interview with Ubisoft and how they plan to protect their workers. They write, a resurgence in sales and critical success would be a much-needed morale boost for Ubisoft and its teams, especially after navigating the turbulent waters in recent times. The game has been at the center of multiple controversies, from anti-DEI movements attacking the game over the inclusion of a black samurai to criticism from certain Japanese players who see the setting as a cultural betrayal to persistent rumors of acquisition. On top of that, Ubisoft is still dealing with the fallout from the trial of former executives accused of workplace harassment and misconduct, further adding to the company's woes. The atmosphere remains tense, particularly for developers. To mitigate potential online backlash, Ubisoft has implemented protective measures for its employees. We're being advised not to publicly mention on social media that we work for Ubisoft to avoid harassment. One employee revealed, recalling many online attacks that have occurred since the game's announcement. Ubisoft is taking proactive steps to handle this extreme and stressful situation. And
the worst part, as I said before, is that they're right about this. And some of the behavior that people engage in isn't acceptable at all. But the problem is that when you mischaracterize anybody criticizing this as like anti-DEI and like racist, well, when you make a pattern of lying about things, then people will also think that you're lying about other things. And that's why there's so much pushback against this.
Harassment campaign that was presented during labor meetings to support employees during the game's release. The initiative comes from Canada. There's a dedicated team monitoring all social media and responding quickly to targeted attacks. Psychological and legal support is being promised to employees who become targets. Unlike previous efforts, this time it's being taken seriously, they emphasized. Posts on X, formerly Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube videos will be closely monitored by a dedicated team, ready to report swiftly to any issues. Lawyers are already on standby, prepared to file lawsuits in any cases of confirmed harassment. How many boxes do you need to shove criticism into before you can comfortably ignore it? This is exactly why Ubisoft has gone to such ridiculous lengths, because the media keeps dialing things up to 11. They've created an industry-wide hysteria where any pushback is treated as an existential threat. Sure, there are bad faith actors in every controversy. There always are. And yeah, I fully believe that there are people that are out there that are going to hijack these movements to push whatever their ideological goals are. But that's not what's happening here. The media's blanket dismissals, lumping Japanese critics and actual concerned players into the same pile as online extremists, is a coward's way out. There's plenty of
It's completely misleading. It's complete. It sounds like threatening players. Yeah, it is. It's completely misleading. And I think that he's right about like how the media are the ones that really make all of this worse, because like they make it impossible to have a reasoned conversation. Like if somebody says, yeah, I think it's kind of weird that you have to play as like this character because I don't really think that it's like, we don't really even know like what his history is. And on top of that, like, it just seems like this is kind of like virtue signaling, right? Like you can't have a reasoned conversation because the media escalates everything to the most extreme degree. And I think that's really the problem, is that because of that escalation, that's why you really have people behaving this way.
Criticism a company can and should ignore. Bad faith outrage, personal attacks, and unhinged nonsense. But this isn't that. Assassin's Creed Shadows is under fire for legitimate reasons. Cultural misrepresentation, blatant disrespect, and Ubisoft's refusal to engage with criticism in good faith. And instead of having a real discussion, the media is shoving it all under the same umbrella, slapping an ideological label on it, and calling it a day. Do I believe that there are psychos that are out there that are trying to attack, dox, and threaten developers? Of course, that always happens. That always will happen. It's disgusting, it should be condemned, and it should be mitigated. But I have a hard time believing that it's happening at such a massive scale that Ubisoft needs to publicly announce a legal team and psychological support group for their developers. This wasn't...
You want to know what's sad? Is that I do. I do think it's that bad. Think about what happens to Tesla owners. Think about what's happened to like these conservative content creators that have gotten swatted all the time. I think that the temperature for all of these topics has gotten turned up to such an insane degree that almost nobody is willing to even think about things at all. People are spurred the fuck out. Yeah, they're totally out of their fucking minds. And it's happening everywhere. And it's happening with everything.
Some necessary response to overwhelming attacks. It was a panic reaction fueled by media-driven hysteria. And Ubisoft's refusal to clarify what attacks actually are makes the situation even worse by saying that they have people that are out there that are combing Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, and monitoring targeted attacks, but not defining what those attacks actually are or what they consider them to be. They're creating a chilling effect on criticism. When a company makes it clear...
That's a great point that he's making, is that whenever you don't really explain what that means... Like, in my opinion, like, I haven't really tempered any of my criticism at all because, I'm not, what am I, harassing the company by saying the game is mid, right? I mean, like, what is this? So of course not. But a lot of other people will be like less likely to talk about it for whatever reason, because it does seem like, oh, well, maybe I could get in trouble or something bad like this could happen. It was much heavier in the opposite direction. Conservatives, anti-woke, are much less likely to dox and stalk. Look, I don't want to play like the who's more bad game, right? Like, my point is that this kind of stuff does happen. And like, here, I'll give you guys an example. So recently there was a post on my subreddit, and it was just literally a picture of the account of like some woman that worked at Ubisoft, and she was a writer for Assassin's Creed Shadows. And, she did look like kind of like the people that I complain about a lot, but she's not really making any statements about the game. She's just simply a woman that worked at the game, and there's no reason to think that she had anything bad or good to have to say or anything about the game at all. And I left the post up because I wanted to like use it as an example on my stream, is that no, just looking at the different profiles of people that work at the game and then harassing them indiscriminately, this is not a good thing. It's not good. And this is kind of what I said before about how like people aren't willing to cede ground to the other side, because it's like basically other people are unreasonable. And so when you're in a circus, it's time to behave like a clown. And I think that's what's happened, is that they've created this circus and now everybody's behaving like clowns. Straight up. Yeah, exactly. Can't be doing that. No, it's weird. It's weird and stupid. And so, of course not. It's not even a debate. Yeah, no, exactly. That the far left is more active in suppressing ideas. No, I agree with you. I think left-wing people are much more active in suppressing ideas. But that doesn't mean that right-wing people don't do it. And when they do it, it is bad. That's it. It's literally that simple. Like, I don't need to play like it when people start playing these. But what about the other people? What about the other people? You're just making defense. You're defending something for what?
They are actively watching social media for attacks. What do you think that does? Critics and content creators immediately clench up. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. YouTube is a fragile platform for critics. There are really no protections if a company decides to misuse the system. If Ubisoft gets trigger happy with copyright strikes or false reports, a single strike could permanently damage a channel. And before you say they won't do that, Ubisoft already got a VTuber banned by accident when they messed up with their own sponsored stream embargo. Imagine what happens when they misfire again, but this time it's a critic. This is the danger of corporations.
I don't worry about that, to be honest with you. I have never seen a company silence a content creator and DMCA a content creator for providing legitimate criticism to a video game. I have never seen this happen. I've never seen it happen. And what happened with that VTuber was ridiculous. But as somebody who actually also had access to the review embargo, because I got the game early, they sent me like a whole like PowerPoint presentation of like, don't show this stuff. Like, this is the time that you need to play and you can't play before this time. Like, I got the review embargo. And so I know like she did break the embargo, but the problem was it was done through a third party and there was a miscommunication because of the game delay, right? It's just how it happens, right? And mistakes happen. And so did Nintendo do it, though? No, I have never seen a video that is critical of a Nintendo game get DMCA'd by Nintendo for being critical. I have never seen that happen.
Forming task forces like this. It's one thing for individual developers to protect themselves. That's understandable. But when you have an international publisher starting to put together a legal team specifically to monitor speech across multiple platforms, it's no longer about safety. It's about control. Yeah. Ubisoft didn't clarify what their task force is actually going to do, and that uncertainty alone is enough to scare some critics into silence. This is how you kill open discussion. This is how bad games keep getting a free pass. By turning everything into a battle, they've made any real criticism, whether it's about the game's quality, historical accuracy, or corporate dishonesty, it's all getting drowned out by noise. They're creating a world where players don't feel comfortable voicing legitimate criticisms without being lumped in with lunatics. This has been the wildest escalation of events that I've ever seen.
And that's the crazy thing is that like a lot of people have gotten mad at me for the feedback that I've given about the game. And I think that I've been one of the people that's been very fair. A lot of other people they've either been saying this game is amazing, I'm loving it. And like, again, I'm not even saying they're lying, but like the truth is usually somewhere in the middle.
For a game before, and I don't think that it's going to stop because you have a lot of people that are really invested in this game failing, and you have a lot of people that are really invested in the game succeeding. I just like covering it more than anything else. Funny. I don't really care what direction it goes in. It'll make for interesting content either way.
Just a fucking game. Yeah, exactly.
I'm really interested to see how people are going to engage with this game. I don't like it. I really don't. I hate it, in fact. And the reason I hate it is because it disappoints me, because it's a company that is so big. It's so experienced. It's been in this industry for so long. You have 20,000 developers. This should be the best game ever made. But they just keep aiming way
It should be. He's right. This game should be insanely fucking good.
Under the bar.
It should not be
a 6. It's all because of greed. It's because monetization dictates everything that they do. You know, they have a monetization director for single-player games.
Yeah, I could have bet that. I could have believed it.
Why would you do that? And they're involved in all of the biggest decisions the game makes. That's a terrible idea. It's the worst idea you could ever have. I'm really interested to see how people engage with this game. I do not think that this is going to be the ultimate Hail Mary that they needed.
It's not.
Because across the board, it's just not very good. First few hours, you're going to enjoy it.
I did.
And I think you're going to see that, and honestly, that makes a lot of sense when you start looking at the reviews, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of the reviewers don't actually ever even finish these games.
I also have to say that side by side, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I've also been playing Rise of the Ronin. I had to actively quit playing Assassin's Creed Shadows because playing that game made me so bad at Rise of the Ronin that I kept losing. So I have to stop. Like, I quit playing Assassin's Creed Shadows until I beat Rise of the Ronin, and then I can go back. Because, like, going back and forth, like, it's just like, it's like you're going from, like, running, you're going from, like, driving a car to, like, fucking running with ankle weights. It's degrading skills, yes. And, like, I had to play, like, for an hour or two to get it back, man. Play Ghosts, it'll break your mind, blow your mind. We're gonna play it probably start of next month. I'm thinking towards the beginning. The combat downgrade, well, it's just hard. It's just way harder. That's it. Like the game's way harder. I'm playing on a hard mode too. It's just a harder game.
Play maybe 15 or 20 hours and then move on to the next game. And because of that, you're gonna get a very limited experience and go, oh yeah, it's a very good game, very pretty.
It is pretty.
We've already seen 3 games in the past 6 months.
That's about it.
Get the same level of marketing, the reviews, the fanfare by the media, and they ultimately still resulted in no financial win. Yeah. And one of those games was made by Ubisoft. And there's a really good chance this is going to be another one.
Oh, Skull
and I think
and
the game is still going to move copies. I just don't think it's going to move that many, or as many as they need it to. Because
I think it'll probably sell like around 5 to 7 million copies. That's what my bet is going to be. At least, like in the first year or so. I'd say 5-7 million copies.
Don't get me wrong, the game is essentially the Call of Duty of third-person action games, but
6 million was my guess. Yeah.
I don't think players are going to dig it as much as Ubisoft needs them to.
Legendary Drops is in chat. There he is.
Player expectations are higher than they've ever been. People don't have enough money. And I also think that this is something else that's unique, and I probably need to look into this and write something about it. But I don't think players are into the whiplash that we've been getting with games lately. Like, just a couple years ago, we had Baldur's Gate 3, which was just like a wild game. And then you go to play Starfield right after Baldur's Gate 3, and you're like, what the hell is going on? These guys have way more.
It's simple. All of the bad games, well, to be fair, Ubisoft is in France, but other than that, all of the bad games are in America, and all of the good games are in Europe. In terms of Western games, right? You've obviously got the Asian games that are also good. So basically, if your game studio is on the continent of North America, or
money. They've been in the industry longer. They've made some of the best games ever.
Watch out.
How did you make this when I just played that? And I think the same thing's going to happen with people that played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Exactly.
You get into this game that has this crazy level of detail and writing and authenticity and the voice acting and the characters and the world and the immersive qualities and all of these things. And then you go and you play Avowed or Assassin's Creed. And it's just like, whoa. How does this happen?
Such a dirty, grimy bitch because I've beaten Avowed, but I haven't beaten Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I need to finish that game. I haven't done that. And it's the same as like that's the way I felt about Rise of the Ronin. I'm like, if I quit playing Rise of the Ronin to beat Assassin's Creed Shadows, I will be the dick eater and the shit eater that everybody in my comments thinks I am whenever I rate like one of these mid games, like, a mid rating, like a 5 or a 6, right?
Happen.
Yeah, I'm like,
I have to beat this. A small focused team with far less resources,
still in the
far
cave.
less money,
exactly,
make something like that. And then you guys with literally the world at your
Do you want to know the real reason why I do it? It's because I like playing video games without paying attention or caring about them, and it's easier for me to not pay attention or care about a game like Avowed. That's the truth.
Tips.
Same with Dragon Age.
Can't deliver something.
Yeah, I don't have to give a fuck or think about it at all.
Players are going to get sick of that. They're not going to deal with it. They'll look for those really crazy big banger games that just blow your mind. It blows the industry out of the water. There's at least 1, 2, or 3 that are going to come out just about every single year. They're going to ignore the rest and then play indie games.
That's why I played WoW so long.
That's what's going to happen. I think that's going to happen right now. Anyway, I'm really interested to see where things go from here. I could talk about player numbers and stuff like that. I've seen it, but if you guys know me, I don't count my chickens before my eggs hatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
I think a lot of people also family. People really downplay how much average disposable income like normal people have. A lot of people don't have a ton of fucking money. There's the video. Give it a like. This was such a good fucking video. Oh my God, this was a good video. I'm glad that he addressed concerns about the game that are, if you can imagine this, about the actual game. Can you believe that? Having concerns about a video game that relate to the game itself. Insane, isn't it?